Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and today we are back with another My Team career mode video. It's been a little bit of a while, but it is Imola qualifying and hopefully it will be an exciting one too. As you can see on the left hand side, we've got plenty of upgrades in terms of the facilities that are coming in very shortly, and of course the R&D. But before we get into any of the upgrades, R&D, the vehicle and the quali, last video is the first subject. If you guys haven't watched it, click off the video now. You've got about 5 seconds before I tell you the results of what was a thrilling race to start the season. We, of course, won, and I'll never look at a Bahrain pit strategy in the same way. I think it could have been only possible because of those tyre wear upgrades we got on the car, but it meant that we could go for that one-stopper at Bahrain, and after the first pit stop, we were looking pretty decent. We fought through the traffic, but the gap back to the Red Bulls, of course, was about 7, 8, and then grew and grew a little bit more and a little bit more. And then I had the choice, I could either bring it in for the second of 2 pit stops or stay out. And I risked it a little bit because I didn't know where the tyre wear would go. It wasn't a massive risk, but had there been such a massive drop off, then we could have ended in a very poor situation, to say the least. You don't really want to have too much of a drop off back up the field, then have to defend from the Red Bulls and just bring Daniel Ricciardo right into it. But it's certainly a risk worth taking because we took the win in the end by about a tenth and a half, 25 points on the board. A thrilling way to start season 2, a much improvement on our P8 in season 1. Have to say that the Red Bulls are looking so much stronger than Mercedes. Their car might be pretty much equal, but P2 and 3, they were charging. Meanwhile, Ferrari struggling against McLaren, the opposite of last season. Danny Rick was looking great in P4. Norris at the back of that sandwich in P8. A solid start to the season for those guys, with Hamilton ahead of Bottas, even though Bottas throughout the weekend looked the stronger of the two. Tsunoda, my teammate, sits in between them. It was a fantastic one-stop strategy, the highest of those on the one-stop who started outside of the top 10. It was just a fantastic race from Yuki Tsunoda. Great way to start the season. Does, of course, mean that we sit P1 in the constructors' standings, same points as Red Bull. Alonso looking strong in his Alpine, another strong performance despite a poor car. And then the Ferrari struggling, Sainz down there, P10, only 1 point for him. Leclerc out the points. Lance Stroll fought his way back up the field on that one-stop to finish ahead of Charles, just behind his teammate Pierre Gasly. Vettel looking strong, the AlphaTauri is looking pretty strong. Ocon struggling a little bit there. My teammate from last season certainly isn't high flying, but it was a disaster for the Alfa Romeos, with Giovinazzi spinning twice and Raikkonen not finishing due to a mechanical failure. But it's looking very exciting here, as I'm sure you can see, in terms of the drivers and the constructors. We, of course, lead the drivers. It probably won't last that long. But in terms of the constructors, we're looking very strong. I target P3 for this season, and I certainly wouldn't say no to that. Alpine, though, currently sitting ahead of Ferrari in a pretty poor car, so that is quite interesting. That was last race. I'm not going to go over it too much because, of course, you might have watched the video if you're still watching now. And if you haven't and you know the result, still well worth watching. But as you can see, plenty of upgrades coming in.
Look at this for us, please.
Right. Lose experience for Yuki, gain morale. And this is because the team requested Tsunoda's presence at a recurring meeting, but it conflicts with a couple of our items on their calendar. A lot of demands over time, but it's vital that we have their input and aid on our design. I don't want to lose any more experience. I think we have to go for that.
Department appreciates.
There's a massive push on getting my teammate up there. We do have, of course, these lovely upgrades to do, one of which will boost the aero department, a pivotal one to do that. We will do durability team building. Second driver press tour. Fundraiser. How do you lose cash? You lose cash for the it's sponsor event. That makes sense. Sponsor advertisement with vehicle. And that will get us 750 team acclaim, 37.5k cash. So we're getting all these in. And by having that marketing upgrade, it is really, really helping us in terms of the implications of our activities. We're getting an upgrade in the aero, personnel, and powertrain. As it stands, let's have a little bit of a look down here. We don't really have enough R&D at the moment. We're going to have to wait a teeny little bit. Pistons are available at the moment. I do also want to have maybe a look at a little bit of durability department at the moment. We are at the bottom of that. Strangely, wait, actually no. Can we rush? No, Spec 2 required. I think we still need to do one upgrade on the durability. Surprisingly enough, and it is really mad at the moment, because as it stands, we have the worst durability out of all cars. Mechanical failures are turned on, but we're still yet to have a mechanical failure in the career mode. My teammate, 87 rated Yuki. I think he's gone down from 89, which isn't fantastic. The race and the awareness going down a little bit, but 85 focus is not looking too bad heading into this weekend. You look at the driver market, and certainly a few drops. Verstappen quite low, Ricciardo quite low. Everyone has dropped in this, so he is actually still looking pretty strong at the moment. Let's continue along a bit, get some more
Looks like our driver has an issue.
items.
We need you to step in here.
Ah, right, we're dealing with 30k cash. Come up with a plan to use Sonoda to help launch a new range of team merchandise. Let's get some good income, but leave the driver less prepared for the next race. We'll just go for pace.
You handled that well.
I'm really pushing my teammate because we need for just to get a good result in the constructors this season. It's not just me
Morning.
getting the results. You know, we need other.
Details have been sent to your inbox.
Well, the other driver in the team, Yuki, we need him to be getting results along with me. You know, we can't just have one of us getting all of the results because that isn't going to get us where we need to go. Front wing there, that's a major upgrade. Another major DRS upgrade in there. And a major downforce upgrade. So plenty of aerodynamics available. In terms of this, we've got 2 upgrades at the moment. There won't be much more we can do at the moment for that. A minor piston, 65% failure chance. If we rush that, it is a little bit of a risk at the moment to do that. Is it a risk worth taking to go for the pistons there? To try and rush that 65% failure chance, but it's 540 R&D. No, I think we're going to save up for a big aero upgrades. That's where we need to focus at the moment. There we go, fuel tank positioning in.
I know we were expecting some new developments to come through.
Sadly, we have failed
We'll need to tell the
this
team what to
tertiary ring flaps and... Oh dear. It's going to cost us 625 and it won't be in for Imola. That is really big blow to the car for Imola. We're back ahead of Aston Martin with that latest upgrade, but that's a massive blow as McLaren and Ferrari really dropping back to the pack. They won't be happy with that.
The personnel department has requested your input on this one.
Company Co-D Gym looking basis price with gym equipment, but they're only interested in an exclusive basis. Definitely some new equipment. The trainers say that this top tier kit, but me replacing all our gym equipment in both Team HQ and on the road. Thoughts? Minus 50k added focus. You know what we're doing.
I appreciate you taking the time to help out.
You see, we're giving Yuki the best possible chance of a result here. He's 90 focus at the moment, back up to 89 rated. If he isn't going to get these results, then there's nothing we can do about it. I'm giving him the perfect opportunity. This is bad. Another failed R&D. We can't even afford that. It'll be in for Spain, but this is turning into a bit of a disaster here because that's another upgrade that won't be in. Alpha Tauri are going to be getting a bit further away from us than we wanted. We get the sponsor advertisement in.
So the entire development package for this
and we've dropped behind Aston Martin too. The gap there will be very small. But that is a real shame there. In terms of the power unit for this weekend, nothing needing to be worried about. A little bit high on the control electronics. We might need to replace that for Spain as we did last season. Nothing to worry about there, but we have dropped just below Aston Martin. The gap between us is nothing. If we can get those upgrades in that we need to get in terms of like the chassis, if we can get that by getting some more R&D this weekend, get that in for Spain, then we'll have a nice looking car. But I was hoping we'd have a much better car for Imola, but with two failed upgrades, one aero, one chassis, neither of which are in for the GP, we're not looking that great. We've got 20.69 million at the moment. Look at that wind tunnel. That looks lovely. And of course the powertrain departments there. It is, what do we go for here? We need a bit of quality control, actually, in some departments. Tempted to go for the aero. We can't afford any more problems in terms of that. What else have we got? Marketing. 5,000 for more team activities boosts. That's an interesting 5 million, not 5,000. Interesting one. Maybe we'll invest in it in a little bit, that one there, because that could be an interesting one. We've got some driver perks. We'll have level 2. That will be very helpful. We'll go with that. Level 2 in terms of press conferences. That will give us a bit of a boost there. But I think we'll just go with that aero upgrade at the moment. What else is the powertrain? Maybe quality control. We'll go with that too. And then I'm tempted to go for the R&D upgrade here in the aero. We'll go with those 3. We're really boosting through that. Leaves us 16.18 million in the bank, which is still plenty. We're going to get those facility upgrades in for next time. Hopefully get more R&D to be able to redevelop the weight reduction. That will go with the front downforce aero and the durability. We should be looking quite strong for Spain. But at the moment, a little bit annoying that we're going to head into Imola without those upgrades. But we're pretty much there now for quality. I will show you the R&D graph in a minute. Nothing else to look at. My teammate, 90 focus. He should be on fire at Imola. Certainly will be, of course. AlphaTauri do, totally unrelated to the game, but AlphaTauri do test at Imola, so we should have plenty of practice there from last season. So I'm certainly excited for this quali. Hopefully we can continue good form from Bahrain. Before we have a look at the graph, if you guys are enjoying the content, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. But that's it for the R&D before the race. As always then, before we get into quali, we have a look at the R&D chart. And to be honest with you, it's pretty much identical to what we had last time at Bahrain. You look at Bahrain to now, the gap between Red Bull and Mercedes minimally increased, still nothing between them. The gap from McLaren to Ferrari minimally increased, still nothing between them. Then AlphaTauri, still a chunk ahead of ourselves and Aston Martin. Aston Martin so minimally ahead of us, that won't make a difference. The car's pretty much similar. It will be down to the drivers on track. Then possibly a slightly bigger chunk back, we've got Alfa Romeo. That is still a massive chunk though. They're similar in terms of Alpine and the gap behind them. Williams have continued to get a bit closer to Alpine after Bahrain. Not much of a gap there. Haas really struggling to get any upgrades in, but no real changes there. However, I do have some good news. Practice 1, 2, 3, quali and race are all in the dry. Certainly what we're hoping for there. That will make the weekend a little bit easier. We don't need too many things thrown into the mix because we want to continue our good run of form from Bahrain into today and hopefully get a good result this weekend. Another thing, we haven't got a rival yet. That will probably happen sometime soon. Last season, of course, our rival was Vettel and we beat him in the rivalry. Hopefully we can do the same this season. But now it's time for some quali. Q1 then, and it certainly isn't looking wonderful outside. Thankfully, it won't be raining in this session. It's put down for sunshine. It looks like we won't be getting any sunshine through these clouds until about 10 minutes time. Hopefully we'll get some rays managing to get through this blanket of cloud above us. That'd certainly be nice to have a bit of a sunny quali, but you can see it's going to be sunshine and cloud. You've got to like a little bit of sunshine and cloud once we've got the first part of this qualifying out the way. And Perez is the first man to test out the track here at Imola in qualifying, the second time to Imola in this career mode. Of course, season 2 here. Charles Leclerc had a great Imola race last season. He was absolutely fantastic in that one. He'll be looking to continue that today. Lance Stroll, not too bad of a start to the season in terms of the amount of positions he gained in the race. George Russell heading out the pits. There's the current world champion, Valtteri Bottas, Seb Vettel, Kimi Raikkonen exiting the pit lane. Plenty of different drivers and cars heading out on track. We're going to join them in a second, of course. 3 sets of tyres in terms of the softs, plus 1 if you get through to Q3, and then a set of mediums. Whether we'll use that will depend on Q2 and how we're feeling. But pace in free practice was promising, so let's get out on track and put down our first lap of this Q1 session. Well, Q1 then, as we begin to start our lap. Bit of a messy way to begin it, but now this is the crucial exit. The reason why I was so wanting this to be a dry quali and a dry race is because at Imola I go a lot better around here if it is dry, generally because of my style round here. Very aggressive, as you will see throughout the lap. I like to take a lot of curbs. I like to really push the car. Sadly, Valtteri Bottas may stop us towards the end of this lap. He's in front on his out lap. Please, Valtteri, do not hold us up, because I know what you AI are like. You know, if we catch up to you, you ain't letting us through. Quite frustrating. You can see my teammate is a little bit in front of us. Hopefully, he can get a good quality session. Really proud of him in pre-practice. Managed to get loads of R&D points for the team there at Imola. Definitely why we went for those upgrades in the in terms of it, well, not upgrades really, is it, but in terms of the experience, why we tried to up the experience for him. We've got 2 warnings. It's been a bit of a messy one, but that's why we went for that experience, to try to up it, because although it doesn't help us in terms of his race result, it does help us in terms of accumulating R&D, and that all goes back into the car, which goes into the results, goes into the bonuses at the end of the season. It all comes back into it. But our first lap here has been okay. 4.8 tenths off Leclerc, but certainly can be an awful lot better here. We really, really can. And the start to this second lap has not been as fantastic, but we are going again here, because that first lap, it's a first lap, you know, it wasn't the most exquisite of things. We had a very tasty first sector, I'll tell you that. Then it sort of started to fall apart a little bit during the middle sector and the final sector. So that's where we can make up the time. We definitely should be able to compete with the Ferraris and the McLarens this weekend. They're not that far ahead of us in the R&D, so I wouldn't be surprised if ourselves and Pierre, of course himself in the Alpha Tauri, can get into that mix. We are starting to claw the time back. We lost in the first sector this lap. It won't be an overly quicker lap here, but it certainly will be a little bit quicker. Or not, as it stands. Certainly aren't really putting down the sort of laps we put down in free practice here. Don't know if it's just the conditions. We didn't lock up that time. Can you just keep it smooth through this final sector? We lost the time here last lap, and that will be enough to put us ahead of Lance Stroll, as I think Lewis Hamilton's gone quickest. A purple sector 3 there. Charles Leclerc, of course, just in front of us. My teammate Yuki Tsunoda, P6 at the moment. That's an incredible lap there. We should be pretty much safe in P9 here as the sun starts to come out. But if the sun's coming out, we'll go for another lap. Tyre way around here, as you can see, very low. The race will likely be a soft to medium one-stopper. But if Yuki is P7, that's incredible. This is what you get if you pump in those upgrades in terms of the facilities for him, and you go really always for him in terms of the events. You always go for the option that helps him. Throw in the activities to help him. We are a bit messy through Acque Minerali that time. I just want to get a little bit closer to my teammate here so that we can sort of be pretty comfortable. Another warning for exceeding track limits there. Gosh, I'm being a lot more messy here in quali than I was in free practice. Verstappen goes quickest. We're starting to find a groove round here at Imola. And now, this is a competitive lap time. It will be another purple, sector 3, P5. And wow, Bottas only P6, Perez P4. The order is looking quite shaken up. We are now safe in terms of Q1 here. We can return to the pits after 3 laps. But that will be it for us in this. But after I have a look at the order, though, it's looking spicy. Well, the order certainly looks a little bit more interesting than I was expecting here if we have a look at it. I mean, Valtteri Bottas way off his teammate. Bottas starting to struggle. Perez struggling compared to his teammate. And the Ferraris, where are they? P8 and P11. They are really, really struggling. Let's examine it in a bit more detail. Max Verstappen is looking strong at the moment. Best lap one at 15.630. He is the quickest. Just behind him, Lewis Hamilton. Then we've got Lando Norris sitting there in P3. He's looking fantastic in slower machinery than those guys around him. Checo Perez, P4 at the moment. Not too bad for him. He's ahead of Bottas. He'll be happy about that. We sit P5 with some solid laps we're starting to get in. Valtteri Bottas sits P6, the Finn. Not doing too badly there. I mean, it could be a lot better, though. He's quite a chunk off his teammate, to say the least. In fact, about 4/10. Pretty disappointing for Valtteri, but it's only Q1. Then, Danny Rick ahead of Carlos Sainz. Both McLarens ahead of both Ferraris. And once again, Carlos about 2/10 ahead of his teammate. Pierre Gasly sits P9 ahead of my teammate Yuki Tsunoda. Those two pretty close this weekend. Good to see. And my teammate, though, 16.371. Really what we're looking for. He's in this mix. We've got 11 drivers now in the mix. It was sort of 10 last time. Now it's 11. And we could have a surprise driver going out in Q2. Potentially the likes of Leclerc, Sainz. Maybe Gasly, maybe Ricciardo or Bottas. We'll have to wait and see. But Yuki looking really strong. Hopefully he can make it through to Q3 for the first time in his F1 career. Lance Stroll, P12, leading the best of the rest, and I say it is the best of the rest, about 4/10 back to him, leading Fernando Alonso, doing well in pretty rubbish car. Then Sebastian Vettel ahead of his teammate Robert Schwartzman. Robert looking much better this weekend, clearly helping out a bit. Better focus, I do believe, and he's only a 10th off his teammate. Vettel is a little bit further back than he would have been hoping. Then Antonio Giovinazzi leads Nicholas Latifi. Kimi Raikkonen there. Esteban Ocon really struggling this weekend, P19, with Schumacher and Mazepin sitting back there. George Russell in between them. In terms of the guys at risk, we've got Mazepin, Russell, Schumacher, Ocon, Raikkonen and Latifi all at risk, but I'd expect potentially from 12th down to need to go again. One of those guys going out again is Vettel, looking to go out early. But as you can see, really, really poor lap from Esteban Ocon. Got a lot of work to do. Latifi with P17 though. Fantastic work from the Canadian. We'll have to wait and see how this shuffles around though in the final results, because I wouldn't expect that all to stay the same. But Ocon with a lot of work to do. Russell's struggling a bit more than usual. And Latifi high flying. Let's go to the results of Q1. Well, in terms of the top 10, it is pretty much the same. Charles Leclerc did go again. That's why he's been boosted up to P3, showing that maybe he's got the pace this weekend. Just lacking that consistency. Certainly, though, managing to get up there, but that's after he's had 2 laps and a bit of track evolution going on and changing conditions. But Verstappen still ahead of Hamilton. Those two in a bit of a fight this weekend. Similar for Perez and Bottas. Norris probably fighting above his weight there with that McLaren, getting it in between the Mercedes Red Bull pairing of Verstappen and Hamilton, the Mercedes Red Bull pairing of Perez and Bottas. So Norris sort of in the mix there, looking pretty strong. So is Daniel Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz. That's Daniel Ricciardo P8, Carlos Sainz P9. Those two looking pretty close. Could have a battle on our hands there. And only just off the back of Bottas and Perez. So To be honest with you, if we include ourselves, it's going to be 9 cars going for pole. Very unlikely to be McLarens or Ferraris, but with the pace Norris has been showing, I wouldn't rule him out. Pierre Gasly, P10 there, looking pretty decent. Seb Vettel went again and improved to P11. Yuki, I do believe, didn't need to go again. He sits P12. Really happy about that. P12 off his first run. Fantastic work there. I do believe he might have gone out again. Not entirely sure, but really great work from Yuki to get through. Joined by Alonso, struggling in poor machinery, and then decent machinery for Lance Stroll, struggling with low focus, but those do manage to get through. Robert improving from a disappointing Bahrain Q1 result. He gets out of Q1, probably won't get that far in Q2, but great to see him through to the next part of quali in his Aston Martin. He's also joined by Kimi Raikkonen in the Alfa Romeo with a Ferrari-powered car. And he'll be looking to impress this weekend with a Ferrari power engine. Of course, Ferrari's home race, and Ferrari, keep saying it, aren't looking that great compared to last season. But Kimi Raikkonen P6 in the Alfa Romeo, we haven't seen him in Q2 for quite a while, so great to have him through. Antonio Giovinazzi, his teammate, sadly knocked out of qualifying, 100th behind him. Esteban Ocon struggling in a really poor car there behind the Alfa Romeo in the R&D. It's not showing as much with Alonso, but really is showing with the Frenchman. Then the two Williams of Russell and Latifi. Russell ahead of Latifi, only by 2/10 there, and Russell on the back of Ocon and Giovinazzi, who are in significantly faster cars. And then Schumacher only 3/10 off the back of Latifi. He's quite highly rated, decent focus, and potentially outperforming that Haas a little bit with Nikita Mazepin, P22. But of course, it really is looking anyone's game in Q2 and Q3, of course, as we head towards pole. But be interesting to see if likes of Vettel, Alonso, Stroll, Schwartzman, Raikkonen can try and sneak through to Q3. They'll have a bit of a job on their hands. But Schwartzman and Raikkonen getting through, it was a bit questionable whether they'd make it or not. But we have lost from Q1 Giovinazzi, Ocon, Russell, Latifi, Schumacher and Mazepin. That's both Williams, both Haas's, an Alpine and an Alfa Romeo in Q1. Interesting to see how the teammates of Giovinazzi and Ocon, that's of course Alonso and Raikkonen, do in Q2. But it is certainly turning into something spicy here. We've got some cars and drivers that probably struggle a little bit, the likes of Schwartzman and Raikkonen, maybe Stroll a little bit, Alonso. That's whether it's due to their car or due to the driver, of course, probably due to the driver in terms of Stroll's and Schwartzman's case, but the car a little bit in Alonso's case, and a bit of both in terms of Kimi Raikkonen. But it's going to be very interesting in Q2. Anyone's game, who is going to sneak through to the final part of qualifying. I mean, let's get into the racing action for Q2 in terms of the quali laps, but hopefully my teammate Yuki Tsunoda can make it through. That would be fantastic. It's not like Bahrain. You want to be through to Q2 at Imola. Tyre wear as low as you've seen, so if you can get through, it's all about that position and then the one-stopper in the race. But that's the results for Q1, losing Giovinazzi, Ocon, Russell, Latifi, Schumacher and Mazepin. Time to move on without those guys into the second part of quali. Well, if we were lacking sun earlier, I can't exactly say that now. It's absolutely beating down on us, sat here in the garage. A lovely setting for the second part of qualifying here. I can confirm to you that Mr. Yuki did actually go out again. Didn't need to, wasted a set of tyres, but that's life, isn't it? I can confirm to you, I did have a look afterwards, and here we go. These are the drivers going out on the mediums. We've got Lando Norris testing out that compound of tyre. We're going to play a bit of a sitting duck here. We're going to wait. Not really a sitting duck, but I wanted to say sitting. We're going to sit here, so I just add a duck to the end of it. As you do, you know, I say some random things. But Lando Norris heading out on track. Raikkonen, as you'd expect, on the softs. Leclerc on the soft tyre compound. That's interesting. Hamilton opting for the softs. Only Lando Norris on the mediums at the moment. No one else heading out on track. We've got the choice between softs and mediums. You know that tyre degradation is high around here. Low around here. It's high around Bahrain, low around here. Total opposites. We did quite a few laps on those softs. You would have seen 3 quali laps, only 8% wear, 2.5 tenths slower as a result. The mediums, though, around here are 9 tenths slower. We're looking at nearly a second slower on the mediums. You're going to have to be at the top of your game for that. Sainz also on the softs. Roberts on the softs. We are waiting a bit here. I think we'll be going on the softs here because tyre wear's low. It is a bit of an unnecessary risk and a waste of mediums, really. Perez on the softs. That is telling. In one of the quickest cars on the grid. The quickest car on the grid, effectively. Pretty similar to Mercedes, but... Wow, that is very interesting there. He's gone for the soft tyres. Verstappen, though, on the mediums. This is the mix around. Hamilton on the softs still. So it's Norris and Verstappen on the mediums at the moment. Pretty much everyone out on track. My teammate hasn't joined them yet. I'm guessing he will be going for the mediums. But Bottas goes for... Bottas goes for the mediums. I think my teammate will go for the softs, actually. Don't know why I said mediums. Meant to say Valtteri Bottas will go out on the mediums. Yes, you'd expect that. Especially if Norris has gone out of the mediums, if Verstappen's gone out of the mediums. With that focus and with last season, to expect Bottas to go out on the mediums. 12 minutes 15 into the session. And we're going to wait a little bit longer. My teammate hasn't gone out. I don't know if he's only going to do one run in this session, potentially. Not entirely sure why he's gone out, unless we've got a durability issue there. But because of the drivers who have gone out on the softs, I think... with a lot of drivers going out on the softs, we're going to go out on the softs too. Because we don't want to use mediums then have to go on the softs. We might as well just be clinical, use a set of softs. Because look at that, Norris 5.5 tenths off Charles Leclerc. 5.8 to be exact on the mediums. We'll have a look at a couple more of the times, then we'll go out on the softs. I'm pretty confident we can put a lap in, so we should be alright. But the fact Raikkonen's only 5 tenths off Norris would have to go again. So the mediums aren't a safe option here. Ricciardo is going a bit quicker than Lando Norris there. He's on the softs. Lewis Hamilton goes quickest on the softs. Yeah, you can see the gap to Lando Norris, 8 tenths because of the mediums. We're going to go out on the softs here. Let's just check what Yuki is on at the moment. Let's see. What is he using? He's using the softs too, as you'd expect. No real surprises there. We're going to go out on the softs and join these guys to put a lap in Q2 now that we've made our decision. Well, hopefully you're not all bored to death after all that sort of strategy there. If you're interested about strategy, that'll be interesting for you. But of course, deciding whether to go for the mediums or the softs. We've gone for the softs, and Yuki only manages P14. A very disappointing lap there for him. That's behind Raikkonen and Alonso. He will be going again in this session. Don't know if it's because he's gone out later. Hopefully not, because if it is, then we're going to struggle a little bit here. But he is the slowest of those who have gone out and put a lap. We, one of the only ones not to put in a lap yet round here at Imola. And we've just dipped ourselves into the gravel. Such low tyre wear around here, we can probably afford to go for 2 laps, even though we're starting the race on these tyres. It's 2% tyre wear, and that's for an outlap and the start of this one. We're looking at a similar amount of tyre wear you get from an outlap and a flyer at Bahrain when you're going for an outlap and 2 flyers here at Imola. That's how little tyre wear there is. The overcut will be powerful. We might even consider that in the race in terms of coming in a bit later off the softs that we're clearly going to be using. None of those drivers who's opted for the mediums are currently really far down the order, but they're certainly not looking fantastic. Probably, I'd expect, they'll probably have to go again at threat from those just on the edge of getting through here. We go P15 ahead of Sonoda. Really sloppy lap there. We can go a lot better. That's exactly what we're going to try and do in this lap. What we can do. And this is certainly not the maximum of my capability around Imola. Now we're starting to push a little bit, put in decent laps. I'm hoping that we can just put this lap in and it'll be decent enough. Then we can return to the pits, sit back, relax, have a quick check down of the order and have a look to see then who else is going to have to go out again. But unless we're like a whole second and a half quicker here, that won't be happening too easily and comfortably for ourselves. We do not just need to gain in the first sector where we did, we also need to gain a little bit more in the middle sector and the final sector, but we are looking about 2/10 quicker than Fernando Alonso. It depends how tight it is in front of him. It's not fantastic at the moment. We've got to be aggressive through the final sector. I don't want to have to use another set of softs here in quali, but we might have to at this rate in Q2. Don't want it, might have to. That's a lot of the time, the situation when you're in quali in F1. I'm going to cross the line, and it's enough for P6. Purple final sector. That is a beauty of a lap, and Verstappen opting for the mediums. You can just see here the effect of those mediums. A very, very good driver, P8. We'll return to the pits to have a look at the order here, but we might just be safe, because I don't want to go out again. We don't want to use another set of tyres. I'll have 2 fresh sets for Q3, thank you. We'll just have to see though, because those on the mediums will improve probably when they switch to the softs. The big decision is whether we go out again. It is a very difficult decision, because in terms of the top 10 at the moment, 3 drivers are on the mediums. That is Verstappen, Norris and Bottas. They're P8, 9 and 10. They are going to go again. If we rule them out the equation, say they go ahead of us, the gap from ourselves back to Robert Schwartzman is 7/10. So I think we're safe. We're going to risk it a little bit. I think we're safe. In terms of the order, it's all over the place once again. This time, Perez ahead of Hamilton. The Red Bulls looking decently strong again. Consistently, one of them beating the Mercedes. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc turning around Ferrari's fortunes. I have to say though, Sainz looking the stronger of the two once again. Opposite of last season, he's just off Hamilton's pace there, with Danny Rick just behind Leclerc in P5. We're about a 10th behind them, P6. I'm very happy with that. A really good final sector once again. Pierre Gasly, P7. He might need to go out again. I think he's just bored. I think we're safe, borderline. He might want to go out again. Verstappen, Norris and Bottas, well, they're certainly not safe on their mediums. Robert Schwartzman sits P11. I am absolutely shocked about that. That's fantastic work from him. Really, last season, dismal results. Fantastic work. He'll have to go again, but he should be really proud with that 1 minute 16.9. Lance Stroll just behind him by, well, 2 thousandths. There, he'll be going again, along with Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel. Those two struggling. Alonso ahead of Vettel, despite the fact Vettel has a much better car. Then Kimi Raikkonen and my teammate Yuki. Those guys need to go again. You'd have thought Robert and Kimi would have been at the back, but it's my teammate Yuki who is. Those guys are heading out now, so we'll have a look at the results in a second. We're safe, but hopefully Yuki can pull together a decent lap to scathe through. In terms of who's going out, Pierre hasn't opted to go out. No, he has now, but I think we're pretty much safe in Q2. A little bit of a risk, but we should be pretty alright. Well, I certainly don't mind taking some risks every now and then, but that was quite a big risk, looking at the result. P10, we've made it through by a 10th there, but we've saved tyres, and that's always pivotal. We have saved tyres. That's absolutely pivotal that we have done that. Real shame looking down the order. Yuki couldn't convert a good Q1 into a very good Q2. He has gone again and struggled to really put anything decent together behind Robert Schwartzman. It's a bit disappointing there for Yuki. Hopefully he can make his way up the order in the race tomorrow. But in terms of the guys who went again, 3 of them, and they finished top 3 in the end. Those are the guys who switched from the mediums onto the softs. Lando Norris, the top of that though, by 7 thousandths to Valtteri Bottas. If that's the gap for pole, I'm certainly going to be very excited. But Norris really outperforming that McLaren once again, looking great to be a contender for pole. I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the mix for that. He's ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Then 1.8 tenths to Max Verstappen. He'll be a little bit disappointed with that lap, but this is not the crucial part yet. This is not the crucial part of quali. That is coming up next. That's Q3, and that's where the results matter for the big boys. Sergio Perez, the quickest of those who didn't go out for the second time. Fantastic work from him to be P4 behind his teammate, considering he only did 1 flyer in that session. Pierre Gasly, P5, he went again to be safe, and actually not too bad. Of course, just off the pace of Checo Perez. Of course, he went out twice, did Pierre, but not too far off Verstappen, considering the gap in the R&D. It's actually a very solid quality from the Frenchman there. Then, Lewis Hamilton, P6, ahead of the two Ferraris who didn't need to go again, starting to show some pace here in quality ahead of Q3. Of course, where they dominated last season, the Ferraris, I have to say, really, really strong performance from Charles Leclerc. That started off what became a beautiful run of performances for him. Danny Rick gets through P9, as I was saying earlier, off the back of Leclerc by under half a tenth. Those guys looking really close there. The McLarens and the Ferraris looking fantastically close this season. Didn't really see that in the results at Bahrain. Hopefully, we do get a good fight between those two. In terms of ourselves, as I said, we get through by a tenth in P10. We just made it through. We took the risk. I thought it'd be a lot more comfortable than that, but Vettel thought otherwise. He went out and finished P11 in quali. A really good result for him, I think. You know, he struggled a little bit to start off this season, but a decent result in the Aston Martin for him. The German P11, just missing out on Q3. So did Robert Schwartzman. You know, he was P11 before. 1 minute 16.6. He improved by another 3 tenths. Only 2 tenths off his teammate. Fantastic from my old teammate. Wish he could have done that last season, but I'm really happy to see he's performing this season. You know, because last season, we look back at it, to be honest, he had some dismalish performances at times, but this season, great to see him getting good quality results, because, I mean, the first race, Bahrain, he struggled. I don't know if it's upgrades on the car, I don't know if it's R&D upgrades in the personnel department, or his focus has just shot up, but he's starting to find that form that clearly Aston Martin saw in him, and he's ahead of Lance Stroll. So really, Aston Martin lost Lance Stroll, got Robert Schwartzman, AlphaTauri have a faster car, and Robert's gone quicker than Lance. So really happy for Robert there, a fantastic result for him. Bit disappointed in Yuki a bit, have to say there. You look at where Lance is. I'm happy he's ahead of Lance Stroll, but I was hoping he'd be ahead of the Aston Martins there. We saw the pace in Q1. He needed to transfer that to Q2. Couldn't do so. And with all this work we're putting into him, we're favouring all the activities towards him. Same with the events. Same with the department. We're really pushing on the personnel department. We're pushing him. He's 90 focus, 89 rated. And he's been beaten by Robert Schwartzman, an F2 driver. It's a little bit disappointing. Hopefully he can come back in the race. We know he's stronger in the race, so we saw that at Bahrain. We know he's got the race pace, so hopefully he can do well tomorrow. But a bit disappointing from him there. Then Lance Stroll, P14. AlphaTauri will be disappointed in him. Maybe that low focus continuing to tamper with his results once again. You look at his teammate, that is a massive gap. Both of them went again. The gap is 1.2 seconds. That is not what you want at all at a team. That really, really isn't. Lance Stroll behind Yuki. Even more importantly, behind both Aston Martins. That's a bit disappointing for him. Then Fernando Alonso, P15. A really good result to be only 1/10 off Lance Stroll, considering how poor that Alpine he's getting at his disposal is this season. And then Kimi Raikkonen, P16 for Alfa Romeo, as we expected. Great to see him in Q2. However, the only one of those drivers not to get under the 1 minute 17. However, really good effort from him. Great to see him in Q2. Exactly 2 tenths behind Fernando Alonso. Maybe he would have wanted to be a bit closer to the Spaniard, but still a solid result. In terms of Q3, though, I think it's the same Q3 that we saw in Bahrain. However, it's even closer today. I'm buzzing for this Q3. It is going to be extremely close for pole. I can't wait to see how it unfolds. But a recap of who we've lost. We've lost both Aston Martins, P11 and P12. Vettel leads his teammate, Schwartzman. Then Yuki Tsunoda, my teammate, sits P13. Then we lose one of the two AlphaTauris. That's Lance Stroll, the Canadian, P14. And then we lost an Alpine and Alfa Romeo in Q1. That continues into Q2 with Alonso out P15 and Kimi Raikkonen P16. That's the results of Q2. Time for the main event of this video, Q3. And literally 10 drivers for pole. Unlikely for it to be an AlphaTauri. the two Ferraris or Danny Rick, but I wouldn't count out Lando Norris to get into the mix with the Mercedes and the Red Bulls. And you never know what we can do around Imola. Hopefully, it'll be something very decent. Well, the mood's changed a bit here. It is a little bit cloudy. The sun will come back out again. Thankfully, as I've said, there is no rain on the forecast, even though it does look quite overcast at the moment. We have, unlike Bahrain, two separate sets of fresh softs at our disposal. Only 12 minutes in Q3, so we're going to get straight out on track for our first lap in this session with two fresh sets of softs. We stand a great chance for the quali result. Of course, at Bahrain, we could only really go for end of Q3 with our final set because we only had one fresh set. We got two fresh sets, and we're going to go out there and join Ricciardo on track. Here we go then, the final part of quali and our third set of softs here at Imola in qualifying. We should end up using 4 by the end of Q3. Second car out on track, quite a big gap to Danny Rick at the moment, but you can see a lovely, nice, varying range of colours out on track at the moment. And Danny Rick, actually, sorry, no, that's not Danny Rick in front of us. That is Lando Norris, because Danny Rick has set the pace. He's beaten to it by Max Verstappen, though, who has gone quickest. No real surprises there. Can he be topped, though? That is, of course, the question here. Can he be beaten by maybe his teammates, maybe one of the Mercedes? Don't know if the Mercedes have done their lap or not yet, or is that them starting it? You really don't know in Q3 with this sort of jumble and spread of cars. But Ricciardo, clearly not put the best of laps in. He sits P6 at the moment. Hopefully we can be a little bit quicker than him during this sector. Don't know if we are. No, we're a little bit off him, actually. But we've got our best sector now coming along. Hamilton only P6, and I think Perez went quickest. Pretty shocking. A warning there for track limits. This is all going very quickly for us here in quali. All very dramatic. Sainz P6 ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who's having a disaster here in quali at Imola. He did fantastically last season. Not to be this season. We only managed P9 ourselves. Extremely close, though, in the order. Gasly sits P6 as the sun starts to come out here in quali. We are going to see if we can get a good start to the lap here to be able to go again. It's not the best of starts. Let's see at the end of Sector 1 into Sector 2. No, we've messed it up a bit there. Really got to push. We're going to return to the pits and then have the opportunity to go again at the end of this one. We're only just off the pace of those guys, so it's all to play for in the final laps of the quali session. Well, not a long recap at all, only 6 minutes on the clock there. Can't get me words out at the moment. Just select the softs ready for next lap. But Sergio Perez is quickest ahead of Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. Leclerc has really not shown his true pace at Imola so far, and now he puts down a very decent lap in that Ferrari. He is in between the Red Bulls. Lando Norris still looking strong in P4 ahead of struggling Mercedes cars. Bottas ahead of his teammate, he sits P5. Then Gasly up in P6, a fantastic lap in the Alpha Tauri. He's in front of Carlos Sainz. Then Lewis Hamilton really struggling down in P8. Is it turning into a repeat of last season? Danny Rick, P9 ahead of ourselves, P10. We are literally just whiskers off Danny Rick's time. 7 thousandths. We're so close to getting in that mix that I wouldn't rule out potentially us getting into the top 6 here if we can put in a decent lap, but it is going to be time for us to go out again. Sorry that we can't have a bit of a longer breakdown in Q3 until the end, but we do need to get out on track for our final laps. My best laps, I'd like to say, do come under the sun here, and it is certainly shining at Imola as we are about to start our lap. One of the Ferraris is about to start their out lap here. Hopefully we can go and put in a pretty decent lap time. Let's have a look. First sector done pretty nicely, pretty smoothly, on the throttle quickly, carrying the speed through. We're going to want to go about 5 tenths quicker here for any sort of decent improvements with other drivers going quicker themselves. we're starting to get a bit of decent pace. It's all about the exit off this hairpin, and we are smooth at the moment as everyone heads out on track. One of the Mercedes still in the pit lane at the moment. They're joining the long train. Anyway, got to keep concentration on the car here because we've still got a very okay lap to finish so far. Nearly 6/10 quicker. This is starting to become something, considering it's Q3 and we're only just off the pace. It wasn't a horrific first lap, but going a bit too deep there is going to cost us maybe a 1/10 and a half. Now then, towards the end of this lap here, we could potentially go temporarily onto the top 3, temporarily onto pole, if we can eke out a little bit more. I doubt it. Nope. Just off Checo Perez, despite a purple sector 3, but we're not giving up there. We're going to go again. That is a beauty of a lap to begin the second runs in Q3. A little bit of a warning there. We didn't cut that much of the corner, and we're pretty much identical off the start here. The delta will go red for a millisecond there. Then we push off the exit. You've got to really just risk your lap. You've got to potentially try and throw it away to be able to go quicker. You know, even if it's going as close to the gravel trap as possible, you've got to do it to go quickly. And I'm being pushed to the limit of my ability here at Imola. I can't go any quicker really than this. I probably can, but not much at all. As we're going to now just throw the car over the curbs through this section. We're trading the lap time a little bit through here. A little bit, like, sort of, a little bit quicker, a little bit slower. But there we go. We're getting a much better exit. And now we should be able to go a little bit quicker. Everyone else will go quicker. Whether there's going to be time for another lap after this, I don't think so. Unless we can get a bit of a move on. He did say 30 seconds, so actually there should be just enough time, as we're now going to cross the line a little bit messier through the final sector. Enough to go quickest for now. But we have got 9 other cars still to cross the line here. 9 other cars that can deny us of pole position again. Pushing the limits a bit here. Quali complete. Verstappen goes ahead of Checo Perez here in Q3. Not a surprise there. Then Perez goes quicker. Perez goes quicker. We go quickest in Sector 1 though. Hamilton up to P4. Leclerc down to P5. Sainz goes P5. Overtakes his teammate. We, though, are on a much better flyer here. Bottas manages P5, rounding it all out. And a bit less of a surprising result in terms of the order here with the Red Bulls and the Mercedes. And it's getting very, very shaky here. Very, very shaky. We are 3/10 off Perez's time heading into the final sector. Getting a couple of little warnings. Not entirely important at the moment. This, though, is where we excel. Can we manage to just put it on the line here? Put it all on the line to try and go quicker than Perez for pole here at Imola. Can we do it? It's going to be very tight. Get in there, boys. P1 in Q3 at Imola. A 1 minute 15. Oh. Wow. My days. Gosh. That was certainly quite a tiring finish to quali. We did 3 laps and we went quicker. Quicker. And finally get that pole position. We were like 3/10 down, I think, from Checo Perez by the end of the middle sector. We clawed it back in the final sector to finish just under 2/10 ahead of him in the Red Bull. Of course, his teammate just behind Max Verstappen, but I can't believe that. Our second pole of the career mode, first one of the season, and wow, what a race it's going to be tomorrow if we're starting P1. What a way, though, to end Q3. Couple of warnings there. Not the first time. I'm quite aggressive with track limits. Sorry about that if you don't like that. I am quite aggressive with the track limits. But P1 in the end, we got it. I mean, just saying, but in terms of the chicane, I always carry too much in. I probably lose a lot more time at the chicane by actually taking too much in. Start of that, probably gained about at the maximum half a tenth for that teeny little bit, that extra I took at the first corner. So that wouldn't have made a difference to the lap time anyway. Probably made me push more and then really throw even more at it. Because I was on the limit there. And that is pole, a 1 minute 15. Oh, I'm super happy with that. Ahead of the Red Bulls, a bit of 2x2 going on here for the teams that can actually do 2x2. Of course, as I said, Perez comfortably ahead of Max Verstappen. The Mexican looking fantastic. Then Lewis Hamilton ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Pretty close between Verstappen and Hamilton there. Wouldn't mind some fireworks into turn 1 tomorrow. But then, of course, Carlos Sainz P6, just minimally ahead of his teammate Charles Leclerc P7, just minimally ahead of Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri. Super close there, but it has really, really switched. Ferrari back ahead of McLaren. McLaren's Lando Norris only 0.02 off Gasly. If you look at this here, the gap from Sainz to Norris is under a tenth. It's about half a tenth. It's nothing. It's nothing between those guys, but Danny Rick really struggled there. 0.3 off the pace. A disappointing lap from him in the end. Only driver not to be in the 1 minute 15s. A little bit disappointing there for Danny Rick. 1 minute 16.019. He certainly won't be that happy with that lap there, but we are on pole for the race tomorrow. In terms of the standings, Perez ahead of Verstappen. It is reversed in the standings at the moment. Ricciardo is going to struggle to stay P4. He really is going to struggle to stay P4, standing P10 on the grid. Ferrari resurgence, quite likely for the race tomorrow. My teammate might struggle to stay P5, but it is looking very exciting. Again, the Red Bull's quicker than the Mercedes. Perez faster than Verstappen this time out. Hamilton faster than Bottas. The Ferraris, though, back ahead of the McLarens. Sainz still looking the more dominant of the two. But you can look at this. As I said, Sainz to Norris. There's no gaps in it. Pierre Gasly, though, in a pretty rubbish car, is doing fantastically. So are we in a pretty rubbish car compared to the machinery, the Red Bulls, the Mercedes, the Ferraris and the McLarens. You know, we're doing fantastically well. Lando Norris, of course, P9, as I've said. This group, P6 to 9, could shuffle around. The gap from Sainz to Bottas is pretty small. It is going to be a thrilling race at Imola tomorrow. And then, of course, Danny Rick. Danny Rick, as you said it, struggling down there in P10. I don't know what to say about it, really, for him. Is it low focus? Or has he just had a bad quali session? I don't know, but 0.3 off the back of his teammate, who is at the back of the rest of the train. A bit disappointing, but we are on pole for the race tomorrow. It should be a dramatic one. A really dramatic end to Q3. Pushing it to the limit. Throwing everything at it. We went for it on those fresh soft 3 laps, and that was enough for pole position. Your grid run down for one final time. Ourselves, Perez, Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas, Sainz, Leclerc, Gasly, Norris and Ricciardo. And a whole lot of excitement for the race. There we have it. That is it for quali today. If you guys have enjoyed it, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. It's totally free. I know it's annoying, but if you haven't subscribed, it's not annoying. It's pretty simple, basic thing to do. It's free, but it helps me out and allows me to make the content. So if you guys have enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. But there we have it, on the pole position for the race. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all very soon.